BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Phil Goodlad and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast, your indispensable guide to everything that's happening in our beautiful game. It's Thursday, the 18th of April, and as ever, there's no shortage of talking points.
Rangers spill more priceless points in the title race. They can't beat Dundee. And just how damaging will these two results in the space of 4 days be to their title hopes?
Could Rangers' stalemate at Danes be Celtic's checkmate for the title? And talking of titles, in the Championship, is one heading to Tannadice.
Tony Watt, can he make it 4? Yes, he can! He slots it in! United delirious!
And it got Michael Palin excited.
I'm extremely pleased to see we're at the top of League Two and headed for glory. From Michael Palin, a Stenhousemuir fan in London.
We'll hear how Stenhousemuir made history and pleased the Python. Great to have you along this morning. Plenty as ever to talk about. Delighted to say Ryan Stevenson, former Hearts, St Johnstone, Ayr and Partick Thistle midfielder, joins us. And Craig Telfer, Stenhousemuir fan and face from a view from the terrace. Gentlemen, good morning to you.
Morning, mate.
Morning. Thanks very much for having me along.
Well, thank you for coming along. Ryan, I wonder, as a former player, when you see the results coming in, even at teams that you didn't play with, do you take a gasp when the title race seems to have taken a shudder for Rangers fans?
Yeah, I think everybody's sort of surprised the last two results especially. I think the result at the weekend against Ross County, I think when they went 3-1 up, I think I was sitting watching it and you were everybody was sort of taken aback, just the fact that how quickly Ross County came back into the game, how quickly they went ahead and how comfortable they sort of seemed. And then again last night I watched the game and you would expect, and straight away I was just expecting Rangers to come out and absolutely blow Dundee away, and it was quite the opposite. So yeah, listen, you see it every league, every year, some teams just buckle under a bit of pressure, and I think just now you can totally see that the pressure's weighing on Rangers quite heavily.
We'll obviously come to Rangers and Dundee in just a moment. Craig, I wonder, how does it feel to be the most second famous Stenhousemuir fan on the planet after Michael Palin?
Well, given Michael Palin's success, given the fact that he's a Python, given the fact he's a broadcasting legend, I'm very happy to sit in the passenger seat and let the big man take the acclaim. But just a phenomenal achievement for the Warriors, and just delighted to get the chance to be speaking about it and talking about it with you. It was the best day of my life last Saturday when we finally won the first league title in our 140-year history, and it meant a lot to me, and it meant a lot to so many people associated with the football club. Just a phenomenal day.
The best day in your life, full stop.
Yeah, best day of my life, full stop. I think for a long time Stenhousemuir have known that they're going to win the title, but knowing it and having it actually confirmed is something else. And we were waiting at full time at Oakville, we were waiting for the result between Bonnyrigg Rose and Peterhead. We needed Peterhead to draw, and it was confirmed that Peterhead had drawn. The league title was coming to Steny, and just that feeling, you can't describe it. It's like your something takes over your body. You're just vibrating, and all you want to do is get on the pitch and just share that experience with the players and the other fans as well, and just the energy and the positivity that afternoon. I'll never forget it. Amazing day.
Anybody from the Telfer family that wants to dispute the greatest day of Craig's life, 80295 is the Radio Scotland text message. Listen, I always do this. I forget to go through the headlines because we start speaking straight away. So let's get the headlines. We'll come straight back to all of this. Leeds United highly rated teenager Archie Gray has revealed that he'll snub the chance to play for Scotland in favour of England. The son of Andy Gray, nephew of Eddie, grandson of Frank, says, "My hopes are to play for England. It's where I'm from and where I've grown up." Cali Thistle boss Duncan Ferguson says his team need to win 4 of their remaining 5 matches to have any chance of surviving relegation. He's accused relegated Arbroath players of downing tools on their club and their manager. And Celtic women narrowly defeated Hibs to move top of the SWPL after Rangers were beaten at Hearts. The 1-0 victory at the Excelsior put Celtic 2 points clear at the summit with 6 games left to play.
The Scottish Football Podcast.
Right, let's get back to things at Dines Park. Ryan Stevenson, is the title over now for Rangers?
Well, no, is the answer to that. I think they're obviously 3 points behind. They've still got to go, obviously, to play Celtic at Celtic. Goal differences in Celtic's favour, I'm sure.
Five. They're five better off.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be difficult. I think just the damage that the last two results have probably done. I think when they wake up this morning, the damage that, especially last night, I think, listen, you can go Ross County. You expect Rangers to go to Ross County and win, but it can happen. I think the manner of last night, just the fact that they came out and they just... I'm sitting there watching the game and you're just thinking, can somebody just take the game to the scruff of the neck? You're going for a title here. You're playing for Rangers. You're going against Celtic. Somebody just take the game with the scruff of the neck and do something, and it kind of just petered out.
Is it nerves over the last two games, Ryan, as a former player, or is it that the squad are tired?
No, listen, there's no way that tiredness can come into it. I mean, these guys have got the best at everything, the best recovery, the best sports scientists.
So that's not an option for you?
No, listen, guys on building sites are tired. Football players are not tired. These guys are going for a title against their rivals. It's just, I think when it's came down to it, I think when the pressures... I've never been at that position where I'm playing for Rangers or Celtic and I'm going for a title, but you could see the sort of pressure, especially on Saturday and again last night. It was just, I think, for some of the players, just a bit too much. And that experience as well, I don't think they've got the experience of maybe being in a title race, being that close, having the chance. These fans are turning up and they're expecting Rangers to win. A lot of the Celtic players have been in that position before, and I just think that, especially last night, they just looked as if, as I said, the pressure maybe just got to them a bit too much.
Craig, the last few times that Rangers and Dundee have met, it's been a walk in the park for the Ibrox club. I think there's a stat doing the rounds this morning that the aggregate over the last few matches has been 22-2 in Rangers' favour, and they've not lost against Dundee in a number of years. Given that last night was a game that Rangers had to win, you would imagine, given the record I've just spelt out, that Dundee was the side that Rangers would have wanted to have faced.
Oh, definitely. I think Ryan's absolutely correct. When Rangers would have looked at the fixture card and you're playing like Ross County away and Dundee away, I think they would have definitely put those down for 6 points. And like Ryan, I watched the game last night expecting some kind of reaction from Rangers, given, as you say, Phil, how good the recent form has been in Rangers' favour. But just it was Dundee with the better side for the first 20 minutes. I was really impressed by them. I thought that Bakayoko up front gave them all sorts of problems. He was an excellent presence for them. And just Luke McCowan, Cameron Lyle, just how comfortable these guys were on the ball. Just it looked as though if you didn't know the circumstances behind the match, you'd have thought it was like a mid-table, run-of-the-mill Premiership fixture rather than one team who were desperately trying to claw back the points to get the title. And yes, there were a couple of times where John McCracken was tested in the Dundee goal, but he was never put under any massive duress. Everything that was sent his way was really easy to deal with. And I think that Rangers just looked really short on imagination, really short of creativity, and just it was up front. I think they were just hoping for a moment of magic rather than any structured or pattern of play there. And I think that'd be really worrying for Philip Clement, just the fact that they look really easy to play against in this match.
Yeah, it's one of the things. I'm on Good Morning Scotland today, and all the back page headlines, we're doing the review of the back pages, and it's all focused on Rangers. And we're all old enough and ugly enough to know how the media works, and the top line is it's a title race. But it takes almost away from Dundee, who this season have been a star selling point, I think, for the Scottish Premiership, in that you can come up with a good manager, with a good set of players, with a structure, with a team plan, and even when things don't go your way, you can alter and you can match up against the best. I thought Dundee were really good last night.
Yeah, Dundee do deserve a lot of credit for the way they've handled this season. I don't think they were particularly convincing in the Championship last time around. If you remember, it took them to the final day of the season to beat Queen's Park at Oakville View to go up. But I think since Tony Docherty's come and replaced Gary Boyer, he's deserves so much credit for what he's achieved. He's virtually turned around the squad. It's almost like a brand new group of players in. And they're really fun to watch, Dundee. I think they've got a good balance there of good attacking threat. They can be a wee bit loose at the back. It wasn't the case last night, but it's certainly been the case earlier in the season. And I think the fact that they've come into the top six, they've deserved to be in the top six. And I think it's if Rangers were coming up against a team who maybe had something to play for. I think Dundee are more likely to finish in 6th place than anything else. But if Rangers had come up against a team who were actually going for something, they were looking to finish in one of the European spots per se, I think they might have lost that match. Dundee just looked as though they were there to enjoy themselves, and they certainly did. But I think that Rangers would have probably lost that match in different circumstances.
Ryan, can Rangers turn this around? 5 games to go, 5 goals worse off than Celtic. They have to go to Parkhead next month in the, I think it's the 11th of May is the Old Firm showdown. Can Rangers still win this?
I don't think they will. I don't think. I think just the total wins come out the sails. I mean, exactly what we were saying there. I think last night they just looked completely devoid of ideas. I think they went into that final third and it just kept breaking down. It was as if they were looking, someone's going to, Todd Cantwell's, he's going to get the ball, he's going to take someone on, he's going to put one in the top corner. There was no sort of calmness in their play. It was all sort of, he'll do it, I'm waiting on him to do it. We go wide, and there was no really that was the biggest thing for me, was there was no purpose to, we need a goal here, we need to win this game. And then I think when it got into the second half and there was 30 minutes to go, for me it just totally petered out. Which I was sitting on the couch watching it and I'm thinking, I actually cannot believe I'm seeing this, that these guys are literally going for a title here, and they're away to Dundee. And no disrespect to Dundee, Tony Dock has done an amazing job, and Dundee have done amazingly well this year. But you're talking about Rangers going for a title here, the exact same way as if it was Celtic going for a title, and it just sort of petered out. And then the game finished and I went away and I was going to bed last night and I'm thinking, any change room that I've been involved in, we'd have been at each other's throats, we'd have been fighting in the changing room after it, because it was nowhere near good enough. You could see the reaction of some of the fans at full time, and I just thought, I don't really see any of their players doing that. I see their players sort of getting in there in their heads, they were sort of sulking, it was a kind of gesture clapping the way off to the fans. I really just don't see them coming back from it.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast.
Moving on, let's get stuck into the Championship. We spoke about Rangers and Celtic going for the title in the Premiership. 6 points clear, Dundee United, with 3 games to go. Craig Telfer, is the Championship title already decided?
It feels like that match between Dundee United and Raith Rovers a couple of weeks ago, where the Terrors won 2-0 at Tannadice. That kind of feels as though that was a match done. I think that Raith Rovers have been excellent in the Championship this season, and they've perhaps been the best side to watch. But I think their strategy of winning every game by scoring last-minute goals, that's just simply not sustainable. And you've seen their form dip at probably the worst possible time, like over Christmas and coming into the New Year. It feels like Dundee United, they've not been amazing at the top of the Championship, but latterly they've really held Arbroath, they've really held Raith Rovers off at arm's length. And I think you're really seeing them begin to sort of like show their muscles a wee bit with some of the results they've been getting. They're beginning to look like a side that should be getting in there with like beating the likes of Queen's Park, beating the likes of Arbroath, absolutely smashing these sides. And yes, the Rovers can put a bit of pressure on them if they beat Cali Thistle on Friday night, but it just feels as though it's a matter of time before the title goes to Tannadice.
Yeah, Raith Rovers, Cali Thistle tomorrow night is the game live on the BBC Scotland channel. One to watch for Sports Scene, that one. Dundee United host there on Saturday. Ryan, will there be a party filling around Tannadice? Of course, it all depends on what Raith do tomorrow night.
No, I don't think. I think until it's mathematically possible, it's clear, it's done. I don't think they'll sort of slip into that mode. I think Dundee United are just, again, you go back to the Champions League last night, and I think just in that division, Dundee United are just such a big club. The same way like Real Madrid just scraped through last night. I think Dundee United, when it came to the crucial part of the season, they're a big club. They've got a massive fan base. They've got experienced players, experienced manager, and I think they've just got too much. I can't really see them slipping up or stalling, even regardless of what happens tomorrow night with Raith Rovers and Inverness.
That's what we like about the Daily Football Podcast. We can link in one breath Real Madrid
and Dundee United.
Heard it here. Partick Thistle, Airdrie. I mean, that's also a tasty game. It seems strange saying that it's a tasty game of the Championship because every game this season appears to be tasty on paper. As far as Thistle are concerned, do you think there's shades of a disappointing season for them, Craig, given how close they got in Dingwall to going up at the end of last season, that maybe they haven't gone as far as they would have liked this time?
No, I actually think this has been a pretty good season for Partick Thistle, to be honest. If you go back, yes, that was disappointing, the result in the playoff final against Ross County back in May last year. However, if you look at the players that left the squad, guys like Kyle Turner moved on, Scott Tiffany moved on, Ross Docherty, the captain, moved on. He's gone to Dundee United. And you think these are really difficult players to replace. And I'm sure Chris Doolan's budget was being cut as well. So it's very difficult to try and maintain a competitive team to the same level. But the fact they are in third place, they're likely to finish one position better off than they did last season. They finished in fourth place last season. So perhaps disappointed they couldn't have more of an influence at the very top of the table. But I think on the whole, given the circumstances coming into this campaign, I think Partick Thistle have done very well, and everyone associated with the club should be really pleased with efforts so far.
Yeah, the other game in the Championship sees Morton go to Arbroath. They're already relegated. Ryan, just a word on Arbroath, but specifically those comments from Cally Thistle boss Duncan Ferguson accusing the Arbroath players of downing their tools. It always amuses me as a fan when I hear another manager speak about another team and another set of players. Will the Arbroath players be hearing this psychological discussion from Big Dunc and think, well, I'm going to show him this weekend?
I mean, you'd be absolutely fuming. But who's really going to say something to Big Dunc? Listen, I think over the years, we know what Duncan Ferguson's like. I think whatever pops into his head, he'll say. He doesn't really care how it comes across. If he feels that, then he's going to say it. I think it's different. Listen, Arbroath have been in such an amazing position, getting to play Kilmarnock, the chance of getting into the big league, all that sort of stuff. And Arbroath have shot well above their weight. You need to put it into perspective, and that's no disrespect, but they're Arbroath. And I don't think any player is going to down tools. I think it's just been a relentless season for them. When you lose games, it's the exact same way as winning games. When you win games, you bounce into the next game and it just sort of rolls on and rolls on. See, when you lose games, because I've been there, it's very, very hard to get out of that way, and it becomes a slog in the next game. Oh my God, here we go again, you lose a goal. So I don't think the players are down tools at all. I don't think the manager has. I know the manager reasonably well. I don't think he's that kind of person either. But yeah, you would use it as motivation. I certainly wouldn't be happy, but I certainly wouldn't be saying it if I saw him to his face.
Yeah, Mr. Ferguson, if you are listening, Ryan Stevenson, we can give you his details a little later. He says you're talking rubbish,
and I will not be in when he comes to my house.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast.
Finally, before we go, let's pay tribute to the all-conquering Stenhousemuir and look back on the greatest day in Mr. Craig G. Telfer's life. How does it feel to put 140 years of history on the fire and watch it go up in glorious flames, Craig?
Just absolutely incredible. I feel like I've been saying absolutely incredible anytime I've talked about this for the past 2 weeks. But it's just a remarkable achievement. This group of players, this management team, what they've achieved. I mean, I'm absolutely delighted for them as people. Some of them have never won stuff in their careers before, but I don't think they'll ever know how much it means to us as supporters. What I mentioned there, the pitch invasion, on when we drew with East Fife a couple of weeks ago to clinch the title. And being on the pitch there, you're seeing the whole spectrum of supporters. You're seeing kids who are just in primary school, teenagers, folk in their 20s, 30s, all the way up to like pensioners, people who are retirement age. And you're seeing all these people who have followed this club with very little to show for it. You know, a couple of promotions, a Challenge Cup win in 1995, but finally you have something tangible to put into the trophy cabinet. And it just feels remarkable. And all the bad times I've had following the club, you know, going up to Elgin, seeing the team losing, going down to Stranraer, seeing the team concede last minute goals, all that sort of stuff, it's just evaporated. And all you have is just this feeling of just pride and joy and catharsis. It's just incredible. Never feel as good as that again.
Let me ask you, this is a question that I pose a few people, and it's so silly, it's almost not worth even asking, but I'll give you the scenario. Stenhousemuir doing what they did a couple of weeks ago, or Scotland getting out the group stage in the Euros this summer.
Well, that's something, because you're not the first person that's asked me that. I think that Scotland would be an amazing thing, because I wouldn't just get to celebrate it, I get to celebrate it as part of like the nation, and it's something that everyone can join in. However, Stenhousemuir is something that I've sunk like a lot.
You have to say Stenhousemuir.
You've got to say, Stenhousemuir. Like, I would be,
but it's more personal as a fan of a club that, with the greatest respect, we maybe don't think of Stenhousemuir as league winners every season. So the fact that it has happened, it's more personal to you.
This is what makes football. See this? Genuinely is like a club like Stenhousemuir. I know Gary, I know a couple of the boys that play. I know how much it means to them as players, and especially to whether you've got 50,000 fans or 200. See when the smaller clubs get that, because this might be the one time in another 100 years that they do something. This is once in a lifetime.
The problem now, and you mentioned Gary Naismith, Ryan. Craig, there'll be clubs looking around going, wow, Gary Naismith is the first guy in 140 years to win a league title with Stenhousemuir. He might do a turn at our club.
Okay, well, what I'd say to that is get your chequebook out. He's contracted until 2026, so we're lucky to have got him tied down. And on top of that, with Gary Naismith, I think that he just really seems to get part-time football. I spoke to some of the players during the celebrations on Saturday, and some of the players were saying they would run through brick walls for him. The culture that he's created at Stenhousemuir, I think he just understands how part-time players work and how to get the best out of them. And I don't know what his ambitions are, if he's got designs of moving on. I don't think anyone wants to be the Stenhousemuir manager for the rest of their life. But nevertheless, if he does have ambitions going elsewhere, brilliant. But for the time being, like he's staying at Oakleview, so hands off.
And just a word very quickly, Michael Palin, what's he doing sending a video message saying, I grew up with Stenhousemuir posters on my bedroom wall. Me and the Python boys used to speak about them all the time. What's he doing sending a message like that?
I know that Michael Palin's had a long association with Stenhousemuir. However, I'm not 100% sure where it came from. I know that about 20 years ago, there's a picture of him in the Stenhousemuir boardroom wearing a Stenhousemuir top, and I know he donated money to a manager's fund for players. Where that came from, though, what on earth he was actually doing in the area, I've absolutely no idea. But it's good to know that we do have high-profile supporters, and the club just transcends beyond the sort of the lower reaches of Scottish football.
I saw him, and I would never say that he was using Stenhousemuir to promote his new BBC TV series, but I saw him with a new TV series out last week, and I thought there might be a caption at the end just saying congratulations to Stenhousemuir. Listen, we'll leave it there. Craig, your positivity for your club and your celebrations is infectious. So well done to you.
Thank you very much.
140 years, and it's been great to have you on this morning. Ryan, thank you too. It's always great as ever to get the view from the football side of things. Really interesting too to hear you saying just about how the quagmire that Rangers are now in trying to get this title done, but just looking out of ideas last night. Thanks to both of you. Remember, tomorrow night, the BBC Scotland channel, 7:30, Inverness Cally Thistle against Wraith Rovers. That's one not to be missed. Remember, every day, new episode of the Scottish Football Daily Podcast. It's out bright and early where you get your podcasts, and also at BBC Sounds. Follow and subscribe so that you don't miss out. For now, though, enjoy our wonderful, beautiful game, and we'll speak again soon.
The Scotland Rugby Podcast is now available every Tuesday. Join me, Andy Burke and Tom English. Just head to BBC Sounds and subscribe to the Scotland Rugby Podcast.
It's just seismic stuff.
There's bucket hats as well. Oh, really? Yeah.
Is this a rugby podcast or is this a fashion podcast?
Why can't it be a bit of both?
Rugby. Let's get on to rugby.
There's a lot to be excited about.
Today's guest, John McGuigan.
Clubs are an absolute bedrock of everything Scottish rugby's about.
The Rugby Sports Sound Podcast from BBC Radio Scotland.
We cannot help but be so excited.
It's going to be the centre of the rugby universe.
BBC Sounds.
Just before this BBC podcast gets underway, here's something you may not know. My name's Linda Davies, and I commission podcasts for BBC Sounds. As you'd expect, at the BBC we make podcasts of the very highest quality, featuring the most knowledgeable experts and, genuinely engaging voices. What you may not know is that the BBC makes podcasts about all kinds of things, like pop stars, poltergeists, cricket, and conspiracy theories. And that's just a few examples. If you'd like to discover something a little bit unexpected, find your next podcast over at BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
When you start to come to the end of your career, you start to think, right, what am I going to do next? And I always wanted to be in part of a coaching staff, be a manager, or have some sort of identity in a football club. And for me, I was lucky enough, Brendan came in probably at the right time.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Sutherland and welcome to part 2 of our special bonus edition of the Scottish Football Podcast with the former Celtic captain, now Ayr United manager, Scott Brown, recorded on Wednesday, March the 20th, 2024.
Chief G down the right side of the box, clips it in, there is goal number 5, and it's Scott Brown, the captain. Commons rolls it into Scott Brown! It's another! Brown breaks through! Top corner for Scott Brown, the skipper stepped up and knocked it in. Brown smashes it, it's deflected into the net. Goal Celtic! Final minute.
In this episode, we hear about Scott's favourite moment in his trophy-laden career at Celtic. He lifts the lid on his move to Aberdeen and reveals what he learned about football management from his time with Brendan Rodgers. We also ask him if he sees himself as a future Celtic manager. I hope you enjoy the podcast.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
You had an unbelievably glittering career at Celtic, Scott, one of the most decorated Celtic players of all time. Can you look back and sort of reflect and realise just how incredible your achievements were? Yeah.
Not at this moment, no. I think because I jumped from Celtic straight into Aberdeen and straight from Aberdeen straight into Fleetwood, that I've not really had much time to kind of reflect on too much, and I've been more focused about now being a manager, being the best coach I can be and having that drive. And for me, it was a great honour to play with Celtic and win all those trophies, and I would never change anything for it. I had opportunities to go down south, but I made the right decision throughout my whole career to stay and to make sure I was loyal to one team and win those trophies for them as well, because I had some fantastic times and meeting the fans, and you still meet the fans now, and the fans came down to Fleetwood, they've been coming to Ayr as well, so it's great to have that understanding. But I'm not a huge one to talk about my past and what I've done, and it's in the past for a reason. Somebody else is doing it now and they're doing it better than what I'll do, and then they'll go through and then somebody will do it better than what they'll do as well. And yeah, you might go down in the history books, but at the same time you might become a forgotten man as well. And I wouldn't worry too much about what people think of me in the past. And for me, it's about going forward, going in the present and trying to be the best I can possibly be now.
It's really interesting. I mean, I guess that speaks of a very driven football individual, which I guess would be no surprise to a lot of people. Do you think there'll ever be a time when you do reflect and look back, or is that far, far off in the future? Hopefully
that's far off. Hopefully I've got a job for a long, long time and I don't have to worry about that. But I still go to Celtic events. I still go and follow Celtic Foundation. I go to different events for them, and I'm playing in a charity game at the end of the season as well. So I do go back now and then. I've been back to one game though. So I'm not huge on going back to the whole, watching the club and seeing them and saying, oh, remember me, I used to play here. It's not really my cup of tea, if I'm honest. And you get a lot of the older players that have been there, they've done that, and they go around and do the hospitality and that, and it's brilliant for the fans to see, but I'm afraid it's not really for me at this moment in time.
I want to try and force you to reflect slightly, Scott, if you don't mind. The quadruple treble, 12 back-to-back trophies. If you had to pick out one particular moment of success along the way, what would it be and why? What's
on those trophies? That's a good question. I'd say Rodgick.
Against Aberdeen?
Yeah, pretty much the last kick of the ball.
So this is the 2017 Scottish Cup
first
final.
One, isn't it? Well, the first of the treble.
Celtic needed to win the completely unbeaten domestic treble. First one, yeah, it was 1-1 at injury time, and Tom Rogic got the ball on the right, and you fill in the rest, Scott.
Tom just does what Tom does, doesn't he? He's a magician with a ball, and I can't remember who the defender was, whether it was Constantine, Ash Taylor, or whoever it was, but he's managed for some reason to go on his right foot. And I'm thinking, scrap it, we'll get a corner, we'll be fine. Tom very rarely uses that right foot. It's for standing on because the other one's an absolute one. But at this moment in time, he's chopped and went on the outside.
Now it's Rogic on the right-hand side for Celtic. He's also come more into the game in the second half. He's into the penalty area. He's tucked it past Joe Lewis. And surely Tom Rogic has won it for Celtic in injury time. On the right foot, the Australian slid it past the diving goalkeeper. The Celtic fans celebrate surely the fourth treble in their long and illustrious history.
Great finish into Joe Lewis as well, who I was a teammate as well, so I always used to remember Joe about that. But at the time it was unbelievable because I remember us all run down by the corner flag, jumping in with the fans, and who knows who got booked, but nobody really cared at the end of the time. And then to have that opportunity of winning the first treble, I'd never done it before as a player and seen Celtic teams in the past do it, but never done it before as a player, and it was unbelievable scenes through the fans and going through the streets and just everything about that whole day.
Must be magical. I mean, what was the pressure like going into that game, knowing what was at stake?
It was huge because about 20 minutes before that, Aberdeen had a chance. They'd broken us, they caught us. I can't mind if it was Johnny or Kenny, and they've chopped inside and just maybe misplaced the pass a little bit. So in time for, I think it's Cal manages to get back and make a good tackle. So it's that little bit of fortune that we got as well. And Aberdeen pushed us all the way, and that was the league, cups, you name it. They were a very, very good team at the time. And for us, it was always going to be hard games. And they came to Celtic Park. They stopped us on a long run as well. And even with Lenny as well, we were on an unbeaten run all season, and they came to Celtic Park and they beat us. So like small details like that, it still holds in the back of your mind and haunts you because you think you could have done this better, we could have done that. But at the same time, you go and win a treble and it's unbelievable scenes.
And going back to your persona chat, it kind of brings up the Aberdeen thing as well, because I think one of my favourite Scott Brown moments, probably pantomime moments for you a little bit. Yeah, Sam Cosgrove's challenge on you, and then, I don't know how to describe it, but you get up as if you're loving life.
Yeah, to be fair, good tackle. I think it was Big Sam's first thing that he done in the game. He just came on as a sub, and I can't remember what actually happened. I think the ball somehow broke. I've won the ball, and he's great tackle, cleaned me out quite high.
Very high.
I've fell down. Shane Logan obviously has another cheap shot, as he usually does. Kicks the ball when your back's turned. Manages to hit me in the back of the head, and I've jumped up. My shorts were very tight. I'm sure it was one of these seasons I wasn't too keen on the shorts because there was not that much movement in it, shall I say. So my shorts are like going back to the 80s. They're right up here, and I've gave my best walk that I could. And who knew, a couple of seasons later I'd have been in Aberdeen. But before that, I'll give you one as well. Barry Robson was playing, so it was me v Robbo in the middle of the park for Aberdeen. And we used to have great battles in training, me and Robbo. Oh, really? Robbo had elbows floating about everywhere, right? He was horrible to play against. And I can't remember what was happening. I think they've got a corner, the balls came flying out, and Robbo's went to go and finish at the edge, and I've slid tackled, put Robbo flying, right, and that put a smile on my face at that time. And I've drove forwards with the ball. I've gave Griff a terrible ball. Somehow somebody's went down the byline, cut the ball back, and I've tapped it in. And one of the Aberdeen fans in the shed has launched a pie, and I've managed to catch it and have a wee bite and throw it back in. I think the amount of things I've done to those Aberdeen fans back in the day, and for them still to actually come over and support me when I played and speak to me is unbelievable, and it shows you that they support their players no matter what. And I had some good times with them, I had some good times against them, but I did really, really enjoy my time up there as well.
Now let's talk about Aberdeen then. You got that chance to be part of the management team there. It must have been a huge consideration for you, obviously, to leave Celtic at that point. How did it all come about?
No, there was no consideration for me. I was going. I was getting too old, too fragile. If I wanted, I could have probably stayed and held on to me being a 36-year-old and trying to watch me, I can still do this at the highest level. But I didn't want to disrespect the fans and saying that, I'm still captain of this club, I'll still turn up and I'll still run about and watch me, I can still do it, when I knew I couldn't deep down. And I went up to Aberdeen to kind of go in and understand what I wanted. And Glassy offered me the chance to go up there as part of his coaching staff, Alan Russell and Henry. And it was a great learning experience because we worked really well together. I was in their dressing room, jumping in between them and the players, and see small details like understanding sizes of pitches when it's 7v7 or 5v5s or 4v4s, and what you want for the drill, what you expect from the players, as in distance-wise, high intensity, down days, when you should give them off. And my brain was like, oh my God, what have I put myself into here? And it was brilliant because Henry sat me down on the computer with the stats. Glassy and Alan talked me through what they wanted out of the session, and then they talked through the session, and it actually went quite well because I was involved in everything. And then we went onto the training pitch and I could help the lads out on the pitch. So when we were working on shape, structure, whether it was mid-block, low block, press, whatever we were going to do, I could help the lads out and I knew where they wanted to be. So the only problem was me, probably. I just couldn't get about compared to what my brain wanted to do. And at the same time, I was 36. I'm still quite fit, as I say, running in straight lines and that, but hip started to slowly cause problems. Then I ended up going playing sweeper for them. And for me, sweeper actually worked quite well because I'm quite calm on the ball. I didn't have to run as much. And I had two lads that were rapid beside me. Yeah. So for us to squeeze a good line, there wasn't that much pressure on myself to make sure that I was making that last-ditch tackle, that I had to go and win that header or that. And we actually did really play some good games when even we went to Arbroath and we competed really well.
Dylan McGeer takes the corner. It's a good delivery as well, and Scott Brown makes it too. The former Celtic captain, the man the Rangers supporters love to hate, has given Aberdeen insurance at Ibrox. A quite stunning moment for Scott Brown personally and for Aberdeen collectively.
Up at Aberdeen as well, we competed well against even Celtic, came up there and was a little bit unlucky. Got a good result against Rangers. And
remember a game against Hearts as well, with you playing in that sort of super role.
Yeah, played against, I think it was Big Sims as well that day.
I think John Suter scored for them, but I can't remember. I think you turned it around, didn't you?
To be fair, but we had a good team. We just small details. We just couldn't keep a clean sheet, and that was maybe just I was at the back.
Yeah, I thought you played quite well, Scott. To be fair, but yes, Aberdeen have been searching for the elixir to life ever since Derek McInnes left the club. Why did it not ultimately work, would you say, for Stephen Glass and I guess yourself as well at Aberdeen?
I don't really know. I think it's like it came down to small details. We were going 1-0 up and we were maybe in cruise control and it would be that one shot and you'd be like, oh no again. And then we'd be in the game and some team would score a worldie or there would be a mistake from somebody and it cost us. Where that little bit of misfortune, you need sometimes somebody to miss that 1-on-1 or somebody to go up the park and score a worldie for us, and we maybe just didn't have enough of that. And I think football does come down to a lot of luck as well, because as you say, Tom Roderick scores that goal because Aberdeen maybe don't make that pass in the final third that they probably should do to maybe go and win the game or maybe to take us to extra time. And it's small fine details of that's what football is. It's margins, isn't it? It's you either have it or you don't now and then, and I think we maybe lacked a little bit at Aberdeen.
How emotional was it at the end with Celtic picking up the last trophy and knowing that it was the end?
Yeah, it was devastating because there was nobody there. That was the hardest thing. And even my last game, I played at Easter Road. There was nobody there. My last game at Celtic Park, there was nobody there. And I never really got to say bye to the Celtic fans at the time. And I spent 15 years with them and we went through a lot of great times, a lot of bad times as well. But they stuck by me and I stuck by them. And I think that's why we got that good bond together. And I always have that respect for the club. The first thing I do after our result, I always look out for their result to make sure they've won. And that will never change. And the love for the club and all the people there, and that will never change for me.
There's Brendan Rodgers. What insights from him in particular, Scott, did you learn through your time that you found useful to you in your short time so far as a manager, would you say?
I probably learned more from him and Lenny than anybody else. Gordon I learned a lot from when I was a lot younger, but I probably didn't remember as much as what I probably should have, because when you start to come to the end of your career, you start to think, right, what am I going to do next? And I always wanted to be in part of a coaching staff, be a manager, or have some sort of identity in a football club. And for me, I was lucky enough, Brendan came in probably at the right time. And I was kind of maybe on the downward with Ronnie and stuff like that. We weren't working hard enough. My whole game was based on fitness. Mm-hmm. And small details like that. And we were brilliant for 60, 65 minutes under Ronnie. We just couldn't maintain that standard for the last. And the amount of goals that we lost late on in games, and that was just due to fitness. That was due to nothing else.
Was that partly to do with the nutritional aspect?
Yeah, we had that as well, and you can use that as an excuse.
Because you wanted a high-fat sort of diet, didn't you?
Yeah, some of the lads done it, some of the lads didn't do it. And I never really followed that because I knew what worked for me.
Yeah.
I'd do 12k easily in a game. I'd work harder than anyone, so there was no need for me to change diet. My body fat was good. Brendan comes in and changes everything. It's like fitness-wise, you've got to be sharper, you've got to be leaner, you've got to be stronger, you've got to make sure you're hitting so many high-intensity meters in each and individual game. And it was more as in, he would go call you out, he'd call Carl out, he'd call James out, he'd call everybody out, and this is what you're going to do. On you go. And it would literally be, if you don't hit that, somebody else will come in and hit that. So he was on everybody early doors, which was brilliant because everyone's game just went up 10, 20%. Pre-season was disgusting. And everybody says it was with the ball. Yeah, it was with the ball, but it was disgusting. But that's what made Brendan's team good.
Was it just more gruelling than any other manager you'd worked under before?
Yeah, it wasn't just like go and run there or go and run there. There was always a tactical understanding of the game. So whatever we worked on for that whole week, so say we go Saturday to Saturday, we're playing St Mirren play 4-4-2. We're going to work on how we're going to break St Mirren down. So that starts Monday. So we go through how our game was, preparation from that and post-match, and then we sit down, right, this is what we're going to do, X, Y, Z. Why are we doing this? Because they play this. This is how we can build up. This is how we can press. This is who I think we're going to press. We're going to leave him on the ball. We're going to go after the goalie. So many details. And it was like, oh, Jesus, I'm learning so much. And it would be like every day I'd be going, I'm going to write that down. So I'd literally and I ended up with books and books just from writing everything down. And at the end, Brendan went, I'll give you everything. I was like, oh, brilliant. But it's good because everything that he learned and what he put down on a session planner was in his way and his means. So I've got my understanding of the way I want to do it. And I'm not saying my way's right. Brendan's was far beyond like what I ever expected to probably learn at a football club. And to have that understanding and still to have that, to pick up the phone call to him going, Gaffer, what do you think about this? And he'd be honest. And I think that's the best thing about the manager. And he's always honest with everything, whether it's a press conference, whether it's one-to-ones, whether it's a whole squad. He's always honest in it.
You still do that now? Come
help.
Give my bell, yeah.
Yeah, well, he helped us with Josh coming in. Josh, goalies came in for the last 3-4 games there, and he's been exceptional. And we'd got an injury to the goalie and we needed an emergency loan in, and Celtic helped us out. So for that, I'm lucky enough that I could pick up the phone to Celtic and ask for their help now and then.
Contacts are always hugely important in football, of course, absolutely. Obviously, Celtic have had a bit of criticism at times this season in terms of just finding themselves now in a title race with Rangers, clearly. Given your insight in terms of the way Brendan Rodgers works, still confident you will be able to steer your old club to success this season, despite the challenges that they face, are clearly facing against a resurgent Rangers?
Yeah, definitely. And I think if anyone knows Brendan, he knows what he's talking about. He's got an understanding of what he wants for the club. But yeah, I believe that he'll do it. And take nothing away from them, they're still a fantastic team. They're great to watch. They will make sure they win that league. That's for sure. And I'm sure Brendan will be looking forward to hopefully picking that trophy up and going again next season.
Two of your former clubs, of course, Celtic and Aberdeen, going head-to-head in the Scottish Cup semi-final. Both sides have had their issues this season. Aberdeen more so when it comes to the league, obviously. But they are clearly capable of raising their performances at times. How much of a chance, realistically, would you give them against Celtic?
It's a one-off game. You never know. And as I say, we played with Aberdeen. We've done not too bad against Celtic. But I think Brendan's got just a little bit too much squad depth-wise and quality-wise for Aberdeen in this moment in time. They've not got a manager, they're kind of in between, but they'll bounce back. They always do, and the fans will support them. They'll come down in their thousands.
As for Celtic, Scott, is managing Celtic one day on the bucket list?
Everyone says that. I think for me, I need to just worry about myself now. Celtic, what I've done at Celtic and how I've played, that's all in the past, and you don't become manager because you just played at Celtic and stuff like that, and you've got the right to manage Celtic. You have to go and earn that, and you have to be good qualified because you've taken good quality players that have got a right good IQ about the game and an understanding, and you need to make sure you make them better. And you have to also have that passion with the fans that, yeah, I have got that understanding what they want and how the club works, but you have to drive that. And Brendan's got that in bundles, and so does his backroom staff. They've been through thick and thin. Yes, there's always going to be little speed bumps, but it's about bounce back ability. And that's one strong thing that club's got.
Penultimate question. How much have you changed, would you say, from the buzz bomb that burst onto the scene as a player for Hibs 20 odd years ago?
I've mellowed a lot. I was maybe a little bit hyperactive when I was younger. Wild. I'd be great for pressing now. Honestly, my first game for Hibs, I played as a striker. I just ran, and I remember Bobby Williamson going, "Hey, man, just go and cause problems." Like nothing tactically, nothing else. Just you go and cause problems, run, work hard. And for that, it's probably the best bit of advice that I've ever got in football. And see, working hard is the best thing you can do in a club. If you can do your 12k, your high intensity, you could be the ultimate team player. You've got a right good chance of becoming a football player. And a lot of people now sit in front of screens and say, "Oh, I could have been doing this, I could have been..." Yeah, you didn't do that because you didn't work hard enough. You didn't want it. You didn't have the desire. And I don't believe in that. That's no for me. And even younger kids now, they need to make sure that they work harder than what they ever do, because if you want to be a good player, if you want to play in the SPL, the English Premier League, Champions League, you've got to be better than everybody that you play against. So you've got to find a way, whether it's you've got more skill, you want to score more goals, or you work harder. And mine was, I couldn't score a lot of goals. I didn't have great skill, so I had to work harder than what everybody else was. And I had a lot of players come in and go because we signed a lot of midfielders. And I made sure I outran them. I got more touches than them. I tackled harder, I won more balls, and that was always in the back of my mind, just to have that focus to be better than anybody that came in my position.
And finally, Scott, what would you say is your ultimate goal as a manager? Always be remembered as a great player, but as a manager, what does success look like to you that would satisfy Scott Brown?
By the time I retire from football, to have a long, good career and be in management for a long time and successful as well, and hopefully pushing Ayr up the league slowly but surely.
Scott, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.